Can you introduce yourself, like your name, age, and job title?
So I'm Holly and I'm 25 and I currently work for an organisation called DSTL, which is Defence Science Technology Labs, and I'm a digital forensic scientist. So my job involves looking at any digital media, so whether it's a phone, a camera, a car, drones, anything that uses any kind of technology. We examine those devices, look at the storage of data, how it stores it, where it stores it, how much is on there. Not only do we look at physical devices, but we look at online devices, so things like devices that connect to the Internet of Things, so an Amazon Alexa or Google Cloud, or your Chrome accounts or iCloud accounts, anything like that. So anything that stores data, really, we look at how you extract that data, how it can be used in court, how it can be used in investigations, and really where it's stored on the device. So as an organisation, we run experiments and research on any kind of device, and we then give that information to the police so they can use it to use in their own investigations. So none of what we do is very case specific, so we don't have to look at any sort of negative images or distressing media or anything like that. We just look at the data we create on them, and then obviously the police do their own investigations with it.
What interested you doing that kind of work?
Well, I started off, I always wanted to do like sort of something to do with the police. I actually wanted to join the mounted police was my original thought, and then I kind of thought there's really not many jobs in that, and then I was like, oh, I'll go into dog handling. I really like animals. And then there's really not very many jobs in dog handling either. So I was like, well, if I can try and get into the police somehow, then maybe I can venture into sort of one of those areas. So at school, I was not great. I didn't try very hard, but I got enough to get into university, and I went and did criminology. So criminology is basically an overview of crime and the causes of crime and how it's policed and sort of everything to do with crime other than specific crime itself. And so I studied that and graduated in 2011. 2011? No, 15. And then I decided I didn't want to join the police at that point. I didn't have a clue what I was going to do, so I went traveling. And it was when I was traveling and I kind of realized, like, I couldn't travel without my phone. I couldn't get anywhere without the internet. I had to connect to different Wi-Fis all the time, and it kind of made me think a little bit about like this data that I was sharing, and when I was connecting to another device, what kind of information was it actually taking from mine and sending back to mine, and just all the kind of like communication side of it. And I really didn't understand any of it at all. I'd done absolutely nothing to do with computing ever. I'd never done any computing at school. I did one module in my criminology that was to do with ethical hacking. So really it was a very, very brief overview of the difference in kinds of hackers. So the difference between a good hacker and a bad hacker, basically. And yeah, so then I came home and I thought that something to do with the police was still my best option, but I didn't know what. And I liked the idea of forensics, but I'm terrible with blood and dead things. So I started looking at digital forensics and thought, well, it's quite interesting. It's a bit different. It kind of fits in with what I've been thinking more recently about communication and things like that. And I sort of had a look at job prospects, because there's so many degrees you can do that lead you almost nowhere. I'm quite a driven person. I like to be busy. I like to have work, and I like to sort of fund my own life. So looking at digital forensics, the jobs are good, the money's good, there's good progression in it. So I started to look at degrees, universities, and the best one that came up was down in Shrivenham, and it was a GCHQ accredited, so it's a very well recognised degree. It was a master's, so it was 1 year. That was very fast tracked and hard work, but I learned a lot in a year, which has obviously set me up now for what I'm doing.
This one.
Do you have any stories that interest you?
Well, one of the key things when I was doing my master's, I had to choose a thesis topic. So I could have chosen absolutely anything I wanted, looked at any device I wanted, and examined it, and basically looked at the storage of data, or either how to recover that data, or whether it's encrypted, or literally anything to do with digital data. I could have done anything, and I chose to do Fitbit. So I'm quite into fitness myself, and I was wearing a Fitbit at the time, and I thought that it was quite interesting to have a look at it. And I started to Google it a little bit more, and more cases were coming up to prove that Fitbit had been used in court as, not as key evidence, but as like very strong supporting evidence. So there was, most of them are American. There's been a couple in the UK now, but one was a murder trial. So the Fitbit was used to prove that the body had been moved after she died. Another one was a rape trial to prove that the girl had basically said she'd been asleep all night and someone broke into her house, raped her, and then left. And her Fitbit proved that she'd been up and walking around all night. She hadn't been sleeping, because obviously it records so many different parts of your body movements. Some more recently have been used to prove people's locations. So again, more murder trials just prove someone was at that time, when it's like supporting alibis or disproving alibis. So my thesis was quite interesting from that perspective, where it is being used in courts. It's very applicable to crime today, and everyone with some kind of smartwatch. There's been other sort of cases where there's a lot of paedophile cases where it's looking at mass cases and the images on there, and you get very tech savvy people who can hide a lot of information and try and destroy a lot of information, which takes a lot of effort to recover, but there's techniques and skills and different ways that you can do it through digital forensics. So a lot of the people that I did my degree with are in the police, just now working for their digital forensics departments. The police used to outsource digital forensics, and now it's much more internal. So they have departments that take on casework themselves and look through it rather than paying an external company to do it. So it tends to keep it a lot more in-house, but it also means that more people are being exposed to sort of negative images in terms of paedophiles and counter-terrorism and things like that. So it can be a bit distressing.
You have to be good at the job.
What do you need to be good at
Sorry? What do you need to be good at to do this job?
to do this job? Like, what do you have to be good at?
You don't need any specific skill set. So I went into my degree with absolutely nothing. I didn't have any idea about computers. I knew how to turn one on, and I knew how to use a Word document, and I knew how to Google stuff, and that was it. So it's really just about having a little bit of dedication, a bit of drive to actually want to do it. And there was times when I really didn't want to do it, and I was forced to do it. But it's having that sort of like interest in something and a kind of an end goal. So for me, finishing university and finishing my master's was one of the biggest achievements, because it was so difficult for me and it was all so different. So it's not necessarily about having a specific skill set or an ability to do something. It's just about really wanting to do it and applying yourself to it. And when it does get really difficult and you think you can't do it, keep going, you can do it. And having like support. So if you're stuck with stuff, you just have to ask people. It's a good habit to get into, to ask people for help. And if you're really struggling with something, talk to somebody else about it, because even though it seems like you're making a big deal out of it, to them it might be completely different and they might see it from a different perspective. So and don't feel like at school, I again did nothing to do with my degree now. And I left school 8 years ago, and I'm glad that I finished school and that I got what I got from it, because it's allowed me to do what I can now. But I didn't choose specific subjects to do what I'm doing now, because I had absolutely no idea what I was going to end up doing. It's really just about having a bit of drive and a bit of passion and following something that you want to do. Throughout the last year of doing my master's, I struggled quite a lot some days. I'm normally quite like an open person. I'm quite chatty and I don't let things affect me, but there was times throughout my master's where things got too much and I felt like it wasn't possible. I had days where I was quite down, and it's more surrounding yourself with good people. Everyone has bad days and everyone has good days, and you tend to notice your good days. But yeah, for me, having something to focus on was good, but at the same time, that focus was what was causing me to feel negative. So I'm very much an active person, so for me, going to the gym and put my headphones in and lifting heavy weights is what kind of, as much as surrounding myself with people who are telling me can do it and that have bad days. So it's not about like the only one. You're not stuck on your own. And yeah, it's just about asking for help when you're stuck. There's nothing wrong with saying you're stuck or you're struggling or you need help.
Okay. There you go. Any other questions you got for Holly?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. That's us. Thank you very much, Holly. Let me just stop recording before you get another really attractive face on the